right now I kind of feel like how I felt because for those that know me, I am a mountain biker. I'm a cyclist. I used to be in the amongst the many things I've done. I used to be in the bicycle business. I used to be a bicycle shop manager here in Virginia Beach, and the bicycle shop I used to work at, I used to manage. Well, there's actually two shops I used to work at, but one of them sold Trek and one didn't. But the Trek dealer that I used to work for, and just so you know, real quick, let me show you this. I'm in my junky bedroom. I wouldn't show you the rest of it, but you know. But the Trek dealer I used to work for, and by the way, there's a training technical certificate from Trek University. Hopefully, you can see my name on it. There's another Fox Racing 10 Quest for a mountain bike hanging up on the wall of my bedroom there. You know, whatever. So I mountain bike. YouTube, I mountain bike. You know, I don't do it nearly as much. That's why I'm skinny fat, but I do ride. But when back in the day when I was, working at a Trek dealer, managing a Trek shop, and all that, and found out that Lance Armstrong, Mr. Livestrong, and all that, went onto the Oprah Winfrey show, and it was pretty much all a big lie, as far as him not being doped up on drugs, after him denying it over and over again, after other road cyclists coming out and saying, he was doing it, but then they test him, and he was the most tested dude, freaking athlete out there. And you're like, I haven't found anything. And so I was convinced, too, that he, did it on his own, just from determination and whatever, and, I was like, leave Lance alone. You guys have already tested him like 12 times. I know, and don't quote me on this, it's been a while now. I think it was Levi Lifehammer had accused him, I think, and some other ones had accused him. And again, if you're a cyclist, you probably don't care, but there's more to it than that. And when I found out that Lance Armstrong was a doper, it was like, especially being a cyclist, I'm a mountain biker, but, a ton of bricks had hit me. And I was like, man, what the fuck? It's like, Lance, dude, come on. Why you do... Lance, and don't get me wrong, the Livestrong thing with the cancer research and stuff like that, that was good. There's no denying that good was done with that. People were inspired, whatever, and that's good. But he lied. It was all predicated upon a big lie. And so, today I'm kind of having that same feeling, because there is another person whom I look up to, because I have great respect for their academic accomplishments, and academically speaking, in the field of neurosurgery, it is pleasing, it is inspiring to see someone who is still alive, mind you, and looks like me, chocolate, and is, of course, basically now our Secretary of Housing, and that is Dr. Ben Carson. And a friend of mine on Facebook had made a post, and brought to my attention something that he had said about things he had said about slavery, about slaves being immigrants. And so I was like, well, maybe he misspoke, or I don't know. Because sometimes I misspeak. I'm trying to say one thing and something else comes out. We all do it. I'm like, okay. And I've got relatives of mine who are way more accomplished in this world than I am, who are highly intelligent, but listening to them speak, listen to myself speak too when I watch these videos before I load them up, even the smartest amongst us, we stutter or we misspeak occasionally. But unfortunately, when Dr. Carson called slaves immigrants, I was like, huh? Well, maybe he misspoke, or if he had come back and said, I'm referring to the African Americans that came over here, say, to Jamestown, who were, some of the first ones who maybe have been indentured servants. Okay, there were black indentured servants. You'd come over here for a set number of years. You'd serve in someone's house or plantation or whatever, and then you were free. And I'm sure there were probably over time a couple people that came over that were not slaves or indentured servants, but few and far in between, in slavery times, if you will. But an overwhelming vast majority of people of African descent that came over to what's called the New World were indeed slaves. For those of you who know me from my Facebook page, I have taken you to Jamestown countless times, and I'll mention something usually about slavery, indentured servants and slavery, as far as Jamestown and early Virginia and the colonies were concerned. For those of you who know me on Facebook, I've taken you, not this year, but multiple times, to Monticello. And as much respect as I have for Thomas Jefferson as far as the founding fathers and what the ideals of America was to be, I make no bones about it that Thomas Jefferson also had slaves. On the back of that coin, where you see the back of Thomas Jefferson's home, back of that coin, that's looking in from that field. The back of that coin, looking in from that field, the very field that Thomas Jefferson actually sold slaves off. Actually broke up families. I'm trying to find it right now on nickel. There's the very front of a nickel. And this scene here, my friends, is the very back of Monticello. This is actually the back of Monticello. I'm trying to get it in camera. There you go. If you ever go to Monticello, that is the back. On that field there is where slaves, families were broken up. Mothers taken from daughters, sons, husbands, and so forth. So as much respect as I have for the founding fathers in this ideal of a great melting pot, and for as much respect as at the time, considering the geopolitical things of that time, where even some of them have written about the wrongs of slavery, claiming to be Christians and so forth, and therefore knowing slavery was wrong, the fact is they still held slaves, which put them in irreparable error. George Washington, even, for those of you who know me on Facebook, I've taken you, of course, to Mount Vernon, showing you some of the slave burial sites there at Mount Vernon. Now, to George Washington's credit, yes, he did let his slaves go in his will when he died. But the fact is, he still had slaves. Okay? And the fact is, after he died, not all the slaves were released. The slaves that belonged to his wife, Martha, were then basically property of Martha's family from her first husband and all that. And George Washington did not have the power to release those slaves. So then we come, of course, I'm rambling some, but we come back towards Dr. Ben Carson, who goes, slaves are immigrants. No, they were slaves. The difference between someone whom is an immigrant and someone who is a slave is pretty cut and dry. And I am not the most educated person in the world. I'm not. I really am not. But I'm also no dummy, okay? I'm not dumb either. Hold on a second. Let me hit you with that real quick. So, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm also no dummy. And Slaves and immigrants are two different things. An immigrant was here by choice. Even indentured servants were here by choice. A slave was born over here on a slave ship, not by choice. Many of them died out to sea. In fact, sometimes whole crews, boatloads of slaves would be just discarded. And for a long time, even after slavery was abolished, sailors out at sea would see sharks in these areas where the bodies would be dropped off, circling around near their ships, because the sharks, still in their psyche, knew that boatloads of people, human beings, slaves, for them to devour in the Atlantic Ocean. You know what I mean? It's still in their brain. So, Dr. Carson, while I respect your academics, I don't know what the fuck has gotten into you with those comments. Slaves, whether they're black, slaves, or whatever race, are slaves. They do not have a choice. They are slaves. This is why when Thomas Jefferson took Sally Hemings over to France, where in France, Sally was free in France, Sally basically told Thomas that if we have children and I agree to come back with you, and we have kids, that after a certain time, those children, those offspring, will be free. Well, I'm not coming back with you. Even Sally Hemings, Thomas Jefferson's woman, knew that slavery was wrong. And she could have chosen, when she was with Thomas Jefferson in France, to stay in France and be free, if she wanted to, in France. And the only reason she returned to the United States was, or reasons that as far as I'm concerned, reasons were, I think she did love Thomas Jefferson. I think he did love her, obviously. And she made sure that if any children were born by them, that Thomas Jefferson, after a certain time, would set them free as per their agreement. But to call a slave an immigrant, Dr. Carson, I don't know what went through your mind. You need to issue a huge apology, a huge correction. But at this point, there are a lot of people who are already on the fence about you that are probably not going to accept your apology. But you need to do something, attempt to do something to make this right, because on that one, Dr. Carson, with all due respect, you're dead wrong. Damn, 14 minutes of this video. I won't try to go this long, but that's just how much this really, my soul, just like what the fuck? I want to thank my friend and colleague who brought this to my attention. I won't mention his name for a variety of reasons, but you know who you are. Uber 757. There will be no Lyft and Uber referral codes in this video, as I don't think it'll be appropriate to do that. Have a good day.